Marhaban, and welcome back to the M&E Show. My name is Emily.
And my name is Ethan, and welcome to episode number 14 of the M&E Show.
Oh my goodness!
We've done 14 episodes. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Well,
It's great.
we've done 13. We're about to do 14. And we're learning along the way. We've gotten a lot of great feedback from many of you who are listening. And if you haven't given us feedback, we are so open to the feedback and receptive of whatever it is you have to say, even if you think it's negative. We want to hear it so that we can get better. But with all that being said, let's start with some deep breaths. Let's really ground ourselves into this episode. So, Emily, you ready?
Yes.
If you are ready at home or wherever you are listening, watching and viewing this podcast, take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it at the top. And a nice relaxing exhale. Let's do that again. Inhale through your nose. Hold it at the top. And exhale. One more time. Inhale. Hold it. Exhale. All right. Today we want to talk about a little experience, incident, happenstance that occurred yesterday, about 24 hours ago. And I think it could be super relevant to help you guys in whatever it is you're going through, because yesterday I was definitely feeling some energy, and I want to just walk through kind of my experience with it. Emily can talk to you about her experience through it, and we'll just kind of walk through it and see what comes up. But I think it's a really important experience to talk about. So do you want to start us off with the story, or do you want me to start us off?
You start us off.
Okay, so yesterday, Emily and I, we woke up, we went to the gym, as we've been doing pretty much all of this year so far. Today's January 15th. I know this episode won't come out for a little bit, so it's probably already February, March, but we've been really consistent, and hopefully by February, March, we'll be just as consistent. But yeah, so we went to the gym, and after that, we came back home, we made breakfast. I went to go train a client. Emily hung out here. And on the way back from training my client, I was walking along the West Side Highway, and I decided to just stop and meditate for about 10 or 11 minutes just along the water. I sat down, and I had a really nice, relaxing meditation. And then I started walking back, and I started staring at the sun for like 5 minutes, which you might think is crazy. And I'm not recommending you do this because medical professionals do advise against it. But I've had a good experience doing it. It feels intense. It was also really cold out, so it was nice to kind of get that sunlight on my face. And when I got back here, Emily was waiting, and she got a call from her friend. This is kind of before everything happened to me, so I think this is where you can kind of talk about what your friend said on the phone to you.
Well, before my friend called, we were just sitting on the couch. I think you were reading. I'm in transition mode in my life of really hunkering down on what I want to do, how I want to spend my waking hours. And in that moment, I was feeling just overwhelmed by the options that this beautiful life has to offer, and feeling stuck with the options in front of me. And then I was hard on myself in how I was responding to the stuckness, which was like embodying feelings of discomfort, lack of gratitude, when that didn't necessarily need to be the case, and I just needed to take one breath at a time. Anyway, that's all to say that I was feeling things. We were both in our own worlds, I think, experiencing things that needed to pass through us. Anyway, so then in the middle of my doing nothing because I felt stuck and overwhelmed, I get a call from a friend, and he's driving. I can tell he's driving, and he is expressing stress about an event he had to facilitate that night for work. And I happened to be next to Ethan while I was having this phone call, and my friend's voice naturally carried. I didn't have him on speaker, but Ethan heard, and Ethan felt in his chest that my friend needed to cry. And he felt it. Ethan was like, he needs to cry. And I nodded my head towards Ethan, like, yes. I definitely sensed that whether it was a cry he needed to let feelings pass through him. And he was not responding optimally to the stress he was experiencing from work. So then me and my friend kept talking about it, and I just took the role of listener, I felt, mostly in the conversation because I felt he needed to be heard. And he eventually said, I'm going to cry. So Ethan called it, as he often does. And yeah, he was able to cry a little bit to me. And then the phone call ended, I think, in a more positive note for him than when it started. So then he hung up, and then I looked at E, and Ethan expressed like how he felt that he needed to cry, and asked me if I felt, and I said yes, I felt something. And do you want to take over from?
Yeah, so because I was able to sort of feel his sadness through the call, it allowed me to tap into my own sadness, and I haven't had a good cry in a long time.
Yeah, you literally expressed like, I'm jealous. Like, I haven't cried in so long. I want to cry.
Yeah. And for those of you listening, be like, you want to cry, or like you were jealous that he was crying. To me, being able to cry is like the most amazing thing. It's similar to laughing. I would say it's even more cathartic than having a good laugh. It's just a deep, just letting it out, not being ashamed of it. Whatever comes up, comes up. Whatever comes through, and not judging yourself, just letting it out. Anytime I can get that, I am so grateful. So, in this circumstance, I was like, wow, I feel so much energy in my body. That's how it felt. It felt like I had so much energy in my body, and I needed to do something with it. And we had already worked out, so I wasn't going to go do another workout. And to me, the only way to really let that energy pass through me was with a cry. And I told them, I'm like, I want to cry right now. And I
He
literally,
repeated it.
yeah. And saying it out loud is so powerful because, like, if you keep it in, you're trying to like suppress it versus like, no, I'm speaking it into existence. I want to cry.
By
And
speaking it into existence, you naturally uh, invite your body to lean into it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so true. Yeah, you're not like, don't cry. You know, I feel like when we were younger, it was like, hide this, suppress this, don't show this. Let's
Mind over
I
matter.
don't want them to see that I'm feeling this right now. So I'm gonna just put it away. And now it's like, how do we overcome that and lean into these emotions and be like, how am I feeling and what do I want to actually express right now? And I won't feel any shame with it. So of course, having Emily here is incredible. Just being able to hold the space for me, and I know that I have like a support right next to me. It's a little bit easier than doing it alone for sure. So if you have anyone in your life that you can count on who just Emily's friend trusted her in that moment to just call her and say, I need you right now. I feel these emotions. And he could have called anyone. He literally could have called anyone in his life to talk about what he was going through. And he decided to call Emily, which says a lot about you, one. And then two, it says a lot about how the words that he said on the phone really didn't matter. He could have not said a single word on that call and just been like, Emily, I just need you here with me. Like, just be on the phone with me. And that would have been the same thing. And he probably would have still ended up crying the way he did. But, he spoke it. He said he was not feeling great, and it allowed him to feel that. And then that allowed me to tap into that sadness for myself. And I literally went to the floor on my stomach, like laid down on my stomach, put on this song that I always listen to when I want to cry. It's called Can We Kiss Forever? It literally is the perfect song to listen to when you want to cry or when I want to cry.
My song's My Immortal, Evanescence.
Yeah, I don't know who Can We Kiss Forever is by, but I'm sure you have a crying song. And if you don't, find one and just tap into it. It was so amazing. I'm so grateful for being able to feel those feelings. And what was that cry about? It was about so many things. It's about letting go. So much of my last year and a half has been going through the grief of my dad's death and letting go of him, but also holding on to the memories still. And that process of fully letting go is hard. It's hard for me to let go. It's hard for my dad to let go. And I feel it. And in that cry, I was like screaming. I mean, you probably, like, what was I saying? I'm not embarrassed, but like it was intense.
You were saying, please, Dad, I want to let go. Let go, let go. Let go of me, Dad. I love you. I love you so much. I love you. That's pretty much what was on repeat.
Yeah, it was intense. It was beautiful. I had snot all over myself. I was lying down. Emily, at one point, I just felt like I needed my back to be rubbed. And I just like said, Emily, can you please rub my back?
I do want to say that before he asked, I did have the instinct to, but I thought it was important in this case for him to initiate the invitation to do so. And I say that because just being here for someone truly is so much, it's exponentially more than not being here. And then the cherry on top of them feeling comfortable enough to ask, can you rub my back? Like that is just that cherry on top of healing and connection for both parties, I feel.
Yeah, I was so grateful to. As soon as she came over and started rubbing my back, I was able to actually get deeper into the cry. I could feel more comfort and more safe I felt more safe to let it out. And it was so beautiful because that's all I wanted in that moment. I haven't cried in a long time. And whenever I feel blocked, whenever I feel closed off, I know that it is going to take me going through something, me letting these emotions through me. And usually a cry is the best way for me to do that. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. And then, of course, Emily decided that she was feeling things as well.
Oh my gosh, I didn't forget, but I had listening to you speak, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much to respond to. Like I can go off on so many different parts of the story. But yeah, we didn't even get to
Your
my part yet.
experience.
So
So first it was Emily's friend, then that
transferred.
it's what's the game? It's like dominoes.
Yes.
Oh my god, it's like dominoes. If one person feels something, it's gonna tap, and then the other person's like, "Oh, now I feel it." It's like, "Oh, now you can feel it," and it just has to start with one little,
One little brave soul.
yeah,
Vulnerability is our greatest gift as it is the foundation for the best, optimal, genuine connection between humans. So I commend my friend for following his instinct. He didn't even know, I don't think, that he needed to cry.
You don't think so?
I think he felt it in his body, but
It might have been like me where he just
it was
felt
delayed.
that he felt that energy. He
felt
felt
the
this
energy.
like
Mhm.
stuckness, and I think we can all relate to feeling stuck.
I love it because at the end of the call, Ethan said, like, you could have said at the beginning, Spencer, you need to cry. Like cry, just cry without him saying any of the pleasantries like how are you? How are you? How's
Yeah,
you're going? Like just
save
say.
his breath.
Yeah. Which is interesting. But
And imagine you just, and I wonder if it's actually better to just be like, Spencer, I can feel you right now. Just like let it out. And like just go right now. I can feel it in this moment. Like it's building. Let that cry out.
it's interesting though, because
Oh,
oh my goodness.
all right. These last 2 episodes, we've totally just said people's names. We're gonna.
You said people's names.
I don't like not saying people's names.
I
Plus, if he
understand.
listens to the episode, he's gonna know we're talking about them.
Anyway. So where were we?
Talking to Spencer on the phone and like deciding if that was the right moment to do it or letting him.
Oh yes. It's interesting because I love the idea. Like, eventually, as a society, it would be so cool if we felt people's energy and we were able to say, hey, you need to cry right now. I'm open arms.
Oh, oh,
Like, that would be so beautiful.
oh my God! Why don't we just start doing that?
We don't start doing that because there is so much we're undoing intrinsically and extrinsically, and so much we need a release, whether that be trauma, shame. We have to honor people's pace while giving our all in a most safe way to invite change overall, if that makes sense. Yes, it would be so cool if at the start of the phone call I was like, I said what I said, or I would have said that. But at the same time, people, as much as we're headed in the right direction as a society of really valuing vulnerability and feeling to heal, and there's nothing to be ashamed of because feelings are the crux of being human and the beauty of it. As much as that is all true, we're still undoing things we've learned from previous generations, and we need to respect that, because if we don't adhere to the pace people are at, it might cause an opposite effect, being like, I feel pressured to cry. Like, I don't think if I would have, like, people need to get to that place on their own. It reminds me of like people healing from addiction and finding recovery. People, and the book we're reading now, people can say all they want at you, like, you need to do this for a good life, this. But until you truly believe in yourself / are able to respond in a healthy way to positive words from external or internal stimuli, like, you're not going to see the change. It has to come from you. And our job as peers is to support you and hopefully guide you to move in the direction of embodying what is positive truth for yourself.
Well, I want to make sure you still talk about your experience yesterday because that was important, but I want to speak on that point because I think when you're really sensing something, you can actually just help that person get there faster. Like, if you really believe that someone's at a point where they can just like cry right in front of you right now, like, you can speed up the process for them by holding that space. And yeah, of course, sometimes they're going to be like thrown off, but like if you really invite it and you're so present with them, I think it's actually possible for them to just tap into it. And sometimes they're going to deny it, and not everyone will want that. But there will be enough people who are ready and just want to cry in your arms and just have that space, because not everyone has an Emily in their life. Not everyone has someone that they really feel comfortable to be vulnerable around. I feel like what we do well for each other, but also for other people, is hold space and let people feel the things that they need to feel when they need to feel them. And we can feel it for them. Like, they might not even know. Spencer might not have even known yesterday that he needed that. You're right. But we could feel it for him. We could be like, hey, Spencer, I feel your sadness. You might not be as in touch with it right now, but I am. because I've been in that position before, and therefore I can tell you without you even having to know. And that's what you're kind of alluding to. Like, imagine society where like someone's walking past you, it's like, hey, you should do this today. Like, I'm feeling like you need to go, like, go talk to that person over there. Like, go write this book. You know, my friend the other day, was like, you should write a children's book. And I'm like, huh, that's a great idea. Thank you. He's like, yeah, you're a great storyteller.
Yeah. Wasn't there another story where you told someone, oh, you thought they needed to draw,
Yeah,
right?
that was like 2 days ago.
That was wild.
Yeah. And then I don't know if we talked about this, but yeah, like the time in the park where I went to go sit with that girl who was sitting and eating alone, and I could just tell that she had questions. And I was like, go ahead, ask me questions. And she started asking me questions. She's like, wow, this is so crazy. But I wrote in my journal yesterday that like I wanted a stranger to come up to me in the park I wanted a stranger to come up to me and just talk to me. And she's like, you just showed up today like this. And I told her like, yeah, this is how life should be. Like, you should ask for things and then they should just be granted to you if the time is right. But I do want to talk about kind of how that all turned into your experience yesterday.
So, where we left off is Ethan had a beautiful big cry. And then after the cry, like, he showered, he nourished his body, and I was still not only was I still facing the feelings from before my friend and E about feeling stuck and overwhelmed with life's options and indecisiveness. I was feeling that plus now the emotions of two loved ones and also Ethan's brother, who we talked to on the phone earlier that day. I was just feeling that. And I told Ethan, like, although I feel his sadness and I feel the weight of it and that it makes me sad, like, I'm happy about it. It is a gift to be able to feel someone else's feelings, and I know it's ultimately healing for both of us to let feelings pass through us. So, but all the feelings that everyone was experiencing that I was here for, plus what I was experiencing before all the feelings, it just became a lot for me. I couldn't balance and self-soothe, so things are getting blurry because it was a tough day. I think I was getting irritable, and you can tell. I think I was like, I need Starbucks, which
It was like 4 p.m.
I didn't need it, but my unhealthy self couldn't deal with what I was internally dealing with. And your response was like, "Are you sure?" Because he can tell, like he knows my truth. And I was literally, I started to pace back and forth, and he was like, "Emily, I think you need to cry." And then I think I said, "I'm gonna call my mom." Is that what I said?
Yeah, did you call her?
Yeah, I did. I went to Ethan's room and I closed the door. He was out here, and I talked to my mom a little bit. I didn't tell her what I was feeling, but I mean, I told her a tiny bit, but not enough to let out emotion. And that phone call ended pretty quickly. And then I started listening to a meditation about depression. And then like hearing what the lady
I don't know why that's funny.
hearing what the lady was saying. I want to explore why that's funny, but hearing what the lady was saying, I started to let it out. I started to feel, and then I put on my song, "My Immortal," which is such a great song to cry to. I bet it's a popular song people cry to. But anyway, so then I started to let it out, and then Ethan inevitably came in my state and naturally started to rub my back, which was so sweet. And he gave me exactly what I gave him, and I'm feeling things as I'm recalling this, but
Including tissues.
yeah. But I still have trouble receiving. like I feel like I have trouble feeling like I deserve the positive treatment like I give him.
Which is probably really common for people.
Yeah, but I can imagine that's the majority of people, and that's something else to discuss.
It's like they're okay giving care, but like getting care ourselves is much harder.
Like we feel like we're undeserving, or it could be a bunch of reasons, but which added to my sadness even more. But yeah, so then I let out the feelings. Okay, I want your perspective now.
It was just such a cathartic day. We
We had a lot of feelings that needed to pass through us,
Yeah,
obviously.
and we are in a weird time in our lives where, well, Emily has 2 jobs, but they're both part-time, and I just recently closed my business, which I was going to every day, and my mind was so focused on that. So we've had a lot of time to just be. And
Continue.
yeah, when you're just being, things come up. A lot of the time we're just distracting ourselves from.
Being and facing the truths that are
Yeah,
dormant.
yeah, but when you're sitting around all day and thinking, like, if you allow yourself to feel the feelings, you'll probably end up like us, crying on the floor or in the bedroom.
Which is so healthy and a beautiful thing. And we also acknowledge a complete privilege. Like, we're so lucky to be able to afford at this time to heal and grieve and spend a day just letting feelings pass through us. And I started laughing because that night we had an event scheduled about financial freedom, and it was a totally opposite energy environment of what we experienced that day. It's so funny. It was, and like that,
Duality.
yeah, it was just hilarious. But so
It was a rich.
magical.
It was a rich day,
It was so rich.
and if you do have time in your life to just sit with yourself and be and really face whatever it is that's been on your mind or that you're struggling with, just do it. Sit with yourself, sit with your partner, sit with the loved one, and just talk the things out loud that are bothering you. And you'll end up feeling things. And if it ends up with a laugh or a cry or both, that's a huge win. So, yeah, I'm so grateful for yesterday and for you
Likewise.
and for Spencer. And I look forward to more of those days. I know that might sound crazy, like, why do you want to cry? But I really I feel my best and my lightest and my most free after I cry. Every time. There's nothing like, I mean, a workout's great. If a workout is like a 6 out of 10, a cry is a 9 out of 10 in terms of a cathartic release of energy. I did a really great workout this morning. It was awesome. I feel amazing, but there's something about that cry that just like opens up your chest and opens up your heart and just makes you feel so. It's easier to breathe. It's easier to breathe.
I believe mental health is everything. And I understand why we as a society are delayed in our understanding and our prioritizing of mental health and mental health education. One of the reasons being it begins with the brain, and the brain, we're still in our almost infant stages of understanding how it works. It's so intricate, it's so complex. And then mental health, there's so many aspects of the brain. And I mean, right now we're just talking about crying, and I feel like we're discussing huge topics just under the umbrella of crying. There's our relationship to crying, there's our relationship to being with someone who cries, and then being the one yourself who cries in front of someone. There is the experience of a pre-cry, knowing that you need to cry, not knowing, and then there's post-cry, how you respond to it. And there's the evolving relationship with crying. And growth in just overall growth. There's just so many aspects in mental health in general. And if we're just talking about crying, like I feel like that's the theme of today's episode is crying, and for us personally, how grateful we are to cry and how it's one of the, if not the most beautiful action one can embody in this human experience. There's so many reasons we cry. It's so beautiful, like of sad things, of grief, and of like things that move us, and crying from laughter, the best. It's so funny. Every time I've hysterically, like my most biggest cries to Ethan, I end up going back and forth between laughing hysterically.
It's wild. I've never seen anything like it. It's beautiful though.
I'm in a cry and then I laugh about it. Like laugh looking at myself and then I cry. It's like a back and forth ping pong between me laughing and crying, and that is so deliciously human, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. And I think we're really learning that and embodying that now as a society. And at the same time, we're still like, I clearly have so much more work to do when I feel like I feel like a hypocrite when I say I don't deserve the treatment that I gave you, because I know that I do. My higher self knows that, and all feelings are valid. Like if you need to cry, regardless of what it's about, you need to cry, and that is the healthier option, no matter how much you judge what you're crying about. So you might as well just lean into it.
If you need to cry, we give you the opportunity.
We encourage it.
Do it. We encourage it
With love.
We give you the green light. We give you the thumbs up. Go for it. Feel it. Let it out. Let it through you, and just be okay with whatever comes up, whatever comes out. Don't judge it. Just let it be. It's part of you. It needs to go. You don't want to keep it stuck.
That's what literally causes illness, is not letting the feelings just pass through you. When your body is made to, it is made to let feelings pass. And just because our minds might think like something like crying is tough or another action, it doesn't mean we're incapable. It's just fear. Like, it's just amazing how much our mind is an obstacle to us living an optimal human existence the way it is meant to be lived.
Yeah, amen. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this vulnerable episode. We want to do more stories and shares like this and really talk to you guys about our personal experience of what we go through on a daily or weekly basis. And I think something that we have really learned a lot about over these last 7 months that we've known each other is personal relationship to our mental health and to our emotions, and how to really facilitate a space for ourselves and each other and other people to go through the same things. And yesterday was a perfect example of just so much beauty in holding space. And it wasn't even a plan. Imagine if you set up a plan to do this. You really set an intention of like a lot of people coming together to just feel. That is something that I look forward to deeply and really want to facilitate those type of spaces. So if you're interested in that, let us know. Maybe we'll host a cry seminar.
Ooh, love it.
Or
Cheers to
a
that.
cry group. Something like that.
We'll play. We'll noodle. It's the
Yeah.
beauty of life.
You can all just cry together. How beautiful does that sound?
That sounds so...
Because if you see one person crying, it makes you like, it's that domino effect. It really is. Especially if you're feeling like you need that, all it takes sometimes is hearing someone else's story, and that can just boom.
I mean,
that
that's
can
why
just
we
trigger you.
watch movies,
Yeah.
to feel. But people think they watch it because no, I think people know. Like, people
know that.
resonate
Yeah.
most with
Sometimes
stories.
it takes an external thing to get your own internal, like, reminder of, oh,
That's me.
that's me. I'm human.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna feel these things too. Yeah, we can do that. I love that.
Yay.
Let us know if you join us. Please.
Yes. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Alyssa, will you join us for our cry seminar?
Yes. Yes.
We got I got dinner with a good friend of mine, Alyssa, the other night, and she gave us some really great feedback on the podcast, and we noodled on it that night, and yeah, I feel like we did a decent job today. Alyssa, let us know what you think. And shout out to all the rest of you who have given us feedback. My mom, shout out to you.
Mom.
Your mom, Cubby. Shout out to Cubby. And McKinley, you've been watching it as well. So everyone who's watching it, if I didn't say your name, let me know that you're watching the podcast. And
We love you.
we love you. And we look forward to seeing you back on another episode of the M&E Show next week.
Yes. Thank you so much. Have a gorgeous day. Farewell.
Farewell.